Good evening. It's Monday, September the 9th, 2019. This is a meeting of the Council Rock School District Board of School Directors Policy Committee. I'm chairing the meeting, Ed Tate, a member of the board, and we have two board members on the phone with us, Mike Thorwart and Ed Solomon, and we have one board member here with us in the Chancellor Center.
Andy Block.
And our administration is represented by
Matt Frederickson, Director of IT.
Andy Sanko, Director of K-12 Education.
Doug Taylor, Director of Operations.
Thank you, everyone, for your participation. We have a fairly substantial list of policies to get through tonight. We'll begin with 708, which is lending of equipment and books. Mr. Sanko.
Thank you, Mr. Tate. There are no recommended changes based on what PSBA has shared with us.
Terrific. We are replacing a policy that was adopted in 1998.
Correct.
And the update is from the Pennsylvania School Boards Association, which is our consultant on this project. Andy, Mike, Ed, any concerns, objections?
None from my end.
Nope. All right, hearing none.
None good as well.
Thank you. We will move 708 forward in full board for its consideration with our recommendation for approval as is.
Mr. Tate, I would like to note that Mr. Stone is not here this evening. Mr. Taylor will be handling all of the rest of the policies.
Very good. I see there were three that were, Mr. Stone has been busy lately.
Does that mean Mr. Sanko gets to leave?
If he would like to, he said he likes hanging with us.
Well, if I were Mr. Sanko, I wouldn't be here too much longer, but I'm happy to have him. We are happy to have him.
A couple good football games on tonight.
Yeah. 702. Gifts, grants, and donations. Mr. Taylor.
Sure. I have reviewed all of the policies I'm going to look at tonight, and I have compared those to some of our neighboring districts' policies as well. So I wanted to make sure we were on track. I did add the guidelines to this, or suggest adding the guidelines to this policy, which are shown in red, which were on our prior policy.
Good. Are those guidelines not part of the PSBA recommended content?
They recommended that the guidelines be part of administrative litigation.
Yeah.
Which is what they recommended last time we asked them to do.
Okay. In 2005.
I did have one statement, one question. So this is within the guidelines, so I don't have a problem pulling it out. I think it probably best served if it's out, as long as it's set up well by the policy. Will not exceed 20% of the total available area to donate a gift. I wouldn't necessarily suggest we should be specific, or at least put a disclaimer on there that says unless otherwise negotiated. I think if we decide we want to make it 100% based on revenue we can generate or some other piece, that we should be able to do that. So maybe not exceed 20% unless there's some kind of board action. Does that make sense? That's why I think it's limiting. Guidelines for me are more like guardrails as opposed to hard and fast rules. I don't know what anybody else thinks about that.
And do you remember when we did this before, that the reason that they chose to put the guidelines in the policy and not the administrative regulation is because they wanted it to be easier for people to find?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm happy to leave them in there.
Yeah.
I don't have a position either way. I'm just wherever it sits. I think that 20% can be a guideline, but and maybe it's all guidelines can be adjusted with board approval.
I like the idea of adding that clause.
And maybe that's to everything as opposed to just the 20%. Because my next question is around all signage on tangible property, according to the terms of this policy, shall be permitted for the life of the gift. And the question I had is, what does life of the gift mean? You know,
It's a good question.
Life of the gift, say, for example, that we put in a scoreboard and someone purchases a lower corner with a name or whatever. 20 years, the scoreboard is beyond repair and needs to be replaced. That's the life of the gift. So the new scoreboard would not have that automatically added to it.
So what happens after 3 years, it gets struck by lightning, burns down, we put up a new scoreboard, how long do we
It's up
have?
to the board's decision whether they want to honor that recipient or not.
So then within the terms of the policy, does it say that the gift has to be approved in a way that, or there needs to be an agreement around anything that's, this kind of goes into naming, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, there is a
So-
specific naming
Policy that.
policy that will be reviewed, I believe, next month.
That's in the table.
Yeah, so I would say that you might want to table this one, but write in there that says any gifts, grants, or donations that involve some kind of naming or logoing have to be consistent with the naming policy, and in that policy, perhaps you can talk about what life gift means and what. Does that make sense? And then that way you just table this one and you approve them at the same time. Because we have a policy in place that pretty much does all this stuff without,
Yeah, so,
there's no urgency on this, we can still take.
so there's two things. One is to add that clause that says without express approval of the board, and the other would be a reference to the naming policy.
Yep.
Gentlemen on the line,
Yeah, I tend to agree with Andy's point on both those specifics there as well.
okay. All right, I'm making notes here, so that, and also, so that 1, 2 is reference to naming policy.
So do we have a naming policy now?
We
do.
It's actually going to be tonight, but we have to table it because we.
No, but the one that we haven't?
Yeah.
We have one anyway, though, that's in force and.
It's,
So we could actually, if we put consistent with the naming policy or with any naming policy, then we can move this forward, or do you actually want to table this till the new?
no, we were gonna have some conversation, about the naming policy.
No,
It's on next month's agenda.
Yeah, no, I get that, but that being said, since there is an existing naming policy, right? Do we have an existing, that's my question. Do you want to just note the two things we talked about here and pass this one through, and it would apply to the current naming policy, or do you want to hold it and just approve it when it goes to the new naming policy?
Well, there's substantial changes to the naming policy. Would it make more sense to just?
I just assume hold it, because I don't think there's any sense.
Holding this is fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I think we should hold it and take a look at what we're doing with the next one.
That was gift grants and donations, 702, right, table. All right, so we're on 706, property records. Mr. Taylor, this is straightforward, isn't it?
706. 706.
There's a definition added.
Yes, I added,
Oh, that's good.
added the guideline, under the guideline.
Appreciate that you put everything in red, it was very easy to pick up.
Yeah.
That was the goal. These are not easily modified, though. Their formatting is not, doesn't let you do what you want to do.
Oh, man.
It is tough to look.
Probably put it on.
All right, this is pretty straightforward, it just requires and formalizes a record-keeping process for physical property and equipment. Any objections or concerns?
Nope.
None. We'll move 706 on to the full board with our recommendation. And the next is 717, cellular phones.
717. I did not have, I honestly did not.
That's all right, I did it. And
717 is a new policy recommended by the PSBA, so there's not a required policy to go against. As with all new policies from PSBA, You guys just have to decide whether you want one or not.
Is it required?
I don't believe so.
So to me, it reads a lot like use of computers.
Appropriate use.
So my question would be, is it required anywhere? And is it covered under any other policies around use of?
My only thought was this is useful if someone ever said, why do 5 administrators have school district cell phones? And the answer would be because the school board has approved a policy that permits cell phones to be distributed to authorized individuals. That's the only reason, the only value I saw. And it also says you gotta follow the rules.
So we do have a large group of employees that do house.com, so I think this is a good policy.
Yeah, I don't know.
Consolidate it into another policy that involves computers or any other type of equipment?
I think they're distinct enough that we should probably have a separate policy.
I like them separate, but
All right, there's no objection.
yeah, I tend to agree with Lloyd, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Fine. Thanks. So, 717 moves forward with our recommendation for approval. 701, facilities planning. Now we're in your wheelhouse, Mr. Taylor.
What do we have here? There was really little to add based on what I've read. On page 2, I did add other considerations including that limited to safety and security measures. So I didn't see anything specifically that mentioned it. So otherwise, I thought it looked good.
All right, I had a suggestion, and I just have to dig it out. I shared it with Mr. Taylor today. Oh, one little clause at the bottom of page 1, where it says, when planning to enlarge or modify its facilities, the board shall consider not only the number of students whose educational needs must be met, but also the physical requirements of the programs it deems best suited to meet those needs. I suggest adding a phrase that says, and the district's financial circumstances. As in, the board shall consider not only the number of students whose educational needs must be met, and the district's financial circumstances, but also the physical requirements of the programs. I mean, that's a statement of the obvious, but I thought it was just useful. And the district's financial circumstances. Thank you. Does anybody object?
No,
Any other concerns about this policy? Hearing none, we'll move 701 forward to the full board with our recommendation. 703, not 702?
Sanitary management.
That's a good thing.
703, yes. So I did make some recommendations on this, which you can see in red. Not many, but I think it's putting a level of cleanliness which we are trying to meet or exceed is important to note on here.
Oh, yeah.
So I added that. And the delegation of responsibilities, I added a couple of other folks on there, the contracted custodial manager, the property and services manager, which is Tom Crow here, who works next to me, and myself. They're inspected regularly for cleanliness and proper sanitation by, I don't know if the superintendent wants to say or not, but I can say the rest of these guys definitely are involved in that process.
Question. What is, level 2? The level of cleanliness shall meet or exceed the APPA level 2?
So there are 5 levels of cleanliness by this designation. Level 1 being a hospital. Level 5 being a gas station bathroom.
So we're almost at the top.
We are in the, yes, we're in the educational realm, college realm, kind of cleaning. And this is a recognized organization for school districts.
Is that setting the bar too low, or is level 1 just
Level 1
so
is,
onerous that?
level 1 is, would be cost prohibitive, and we would never be able to, not with the number of people here and the level of cleanliness that would be required. Level 2 is an acceptable level. Getting there is the challenge. But in the Aramark agreement, that is the level that they're required to achieve. So,
I remember you explaining that to us when we renewed the Aramark contract, and that, and here's the standard, and that's what we're holding them to.
it is.
Kids kind of preclude level 1. They don't live that way.
Yeah, good point.
I was just thinking,
Runny noses are part of the
Well, there is actually disinfecting and things like that that are required as well.
Okay.
All right. Any objection to 703 as written?
No, sir, I'm good, thank you.
We'll move on to 703 to the full board, 704 is maintenance.
Okay. 703, 704. Okay, again, on this policy, I did change the delegation of responsibility. I listed myself and the property services manager. Below, I did the same thing. And then the first, the second kind of large paragraph at the bottom, insert those. And some of the other process pieces associated with capital planning, which I thought were relevant.
Yeah, I like that.
It's the process. We get documents from the principals and all of the building mechanics, collect those to assist in preparing that annual update along with my personal walkthrough of all the buildings.
I like that the principals do that. Matt, would you put a hyphen in long range, please? Yeah. The bottom, the very bottom. Does anybody have any objections or concerns?
None here.
Good. We will move.
Matt, there's also long-range planning in the paragraph just above it. Okay.
We will move 704 forward. 705 is safety.
Okay. Yes. So I did compare this to, again, other districts. They didn't have as many ads as I did on this, but based on my experience and dealing with our insurance provider in terms of the safety committee and the importance of this, we do benefit by a discount on our insurance because we have the safety committee pending we comply. So part of that compliance is that we have 12 meetings a year, and because we hit July and August, then we have no way to have a real quorum at those meetings with any teachers or staff because everyone's away. We do need to have a double meeting in June And then again, when we come back to school in September, we need to have 2 meetings so that you can fulfill the 12 meeting requirement.
And that's required by our insurance company?
That is. Mhm. It's really by the written definitions required by any district that reaps the benefits of this as well. So
Great.
we also have bylaws that and that does they do align with the policy. So a couple other ads were put in here just to show that they kind of tie together. Like, they include one representative employee from each school, which is our effort to do each year. And the 2 meetings during the month of June and September in here. We do have an annual training and certification provided by the insurance providers so that we are certified.
Well, this would affect our workman's comp costs, wouldn't it?
Yes.
The records show that it's not. Anybody have any questions or concerns? All right, hearing none, we will move 705 forward to the full board with our recommendation for approval. 707 is use of school facilities.
Yeah, this was a big one.
Yeah, it is.
So this one, I did review closely with Pauline Borgia, who was here at our last facilities
Right.
meeting to review facilities use. This policy was prepared closely with Mark Klein at that time before Robert's arrival here, and there was a lot of thought and work put into this based upon outside users' experiences and things such as that.
And it
So,
was revised as recently as 2014,
right,
so it's not an out-of-date policy.
not an out-of-date policy, but the policy that's provided by PSBA does not include the definitions,
Sure.
the delegation of responsibility, many of the other things that are put in red in here, insurance requirements. I did add under prohibited activities, vaping along with smoking and other tobaccos. Some of the other things that are prohibited that we listed and noted. Moon bounces, we've read.
Right.
Latex and peanut butter, balloons have been problematic. So there's other things listed in here that I also changed the timing of when these events must be over. And you can see the other things in red. Happy to answer any questions.
And this is, of course, all in concert with our current practices,
It is.
because we have somebody, what Mr. Taylor was referring to, the lady who Mr. Taylor referenced is the person who is the one responsible for for handling agreements with outside groups.
And she will actually be at our October facilities meeting, so we can revisit the fee discussion that we started last month.
Great. Now I see we changed 11 PM to 10 PM, as in the time at which the activities must conclude without special approval.
Yeah, unless special approval is obtained. So there is the ability to extend that should there be a need. But we generally, we did have our custodial staff here till 11, but we revised that to 10:30 with their past contract. So that gives our people a little bit of time to clean up.
All right.
Hey, I've got a couple.
Yeah, please.
Page 3, bullet 11, fix the typo, would you please, second word?
Just did.
And then page 6, bullet 7 and the paragraph underneath it appear to be identical.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I don't, oh, I see what you're saying.
I don't care how you handle that, Doug, but it looks redundant.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't see that they had their own here. I would rather use ours than,
Okay, whatever you prefer, I'm good. They say the same thing. So, yours is a little more detailed.
yeah, we have a couple more things in there than they do, based on our experience, so I'd rather use.
Okay,
Yeah,
I want to take one of them out of, if that's all.
good catch.
Thank you, Mike.
Dr. Thorward.
Which one you want on, though?
I would like to keep our number 7.
The red one?
Yes,
So get rid of this sentence, this paragraph?
yes, please.
You sure there's nothing in there that you need?
No, the rest of that stuff is covered in here.
Okay, any other comments?
Yep. Page 4, bullet point number 2, looks like you get a typo. Will be required if foo will be sold.
Yeah, this is not, sorry.
Worst. Just so everybody knows that we read these when we approve them very quickly.
Yeah,
I'm trying to find it.
We're selling
I think
food.
it's check.
item 2.
Yeah, I think it's 4. It's underneath the medical payments and insurances and all that stuff. So,
Under guidelines, you see.
right there. Whoa. Go back. Right there. 2. Number 2.
Number 2.
Yep, keep going to the
Required
right
if
there.
food.
We're not gonna sell food? Okay.
I thought maybe food was something.
Yeah, we did, the food fighters.
So Doug, on page 2, number 2, this policy does not create or guarantee any rights. The use of facilities of permitted use cannot exceed a period of 1 year. Obviously, we'll have exceptions to that around long-term agreements.
Yes.
Is that provided for somewhere else to where that number 2 is okay? And then that also came up from me under activity classification.
It is because this is the current language you have with what we have in place at North with an extended use of that field, so they're,
Tell me about that.
well,
They have a 3 or a 5-year
I
contract on
think
that.
it's 5 years, yeah. So I think I honestly have to look to see where that language is, but it does provide us with the ability to,
Well, maybe we,
modify any of this language if necessary, so.
well, we could,
I just want to make sure we have the ability to negotiate a
Yeah.
longer-term lease, especially with the new.
No, unless you want to just right here say unless
just
otherwise.
without special approval by the board.
Yeah, I would say board approval.
Yeah.
Would take.
Yeah.
Because then that gives us the right to, we're negotiating those anyway.
You see where that was, Matt?
Of course.
It's page 2.
Number 2.
Yeah,
It's 1 year.
bottom
Yep.
third, yeah.
This policy does not create a guarantee any right to use the facilities.
Unless formally approved by the board. Is that what you want there?
Yes,
Well, yeah,
that
permitted use cannot exceed the period.
here, 1 year, comma, unless approved by the board. Thank you. Good catch, Mr. Block.
And then my last question was around the fee schedule at the end. Use of school facilities for activities directly related to the educational program and district operations shall be without cost to users, except that the user shall be responsible for extra custodial fees, which makes sense. The statement itself makes sense, but it just kind of, it just says fee schedule.
I'm sorry, I don't know where you're.
Right at the end.
Oh, that's written by, yeah, that's,
Seems to me you
I
have
haven't
that.
modified that, so.
Seems to me you kind of have that covered somewhere else, or you could have that covered somewhere else, but that just speaks to custodial fees as opposed to.
Yeah, I know I have the fee discussion elsewhere in here because there's also a note about paying for.
just get kind of hung out there. You know, when you're talking about fees, right? Be consistent with everything, like right in that red.
Oh,
because
fee
under
schedule's on
guidelines.
page
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, under guidelines.
Under
activity.
guidelines, we talk about
So use fees, you have that
rental
there.
charges are defined as additional charges for use of specialized equipment, service fees, labor costs for custodial and operator services.
So what this says though is that directly relates to the educational program and district operations shall be without cost to users except that. So I don't know if you want to note that, or you want to just move that section to the fee schedule, or you want to rewrite it, or if you think you can take it out. And I defer to you, just as long as you feel like you're.
Yeah, I'd like to look at it
Okay.
before I.
So my comment would be, or at least I'd be comfortable if Doug and the team rewrite it to make sure they're covered. I'm happy to pass it. I mean, we'll see it again. If anybody has an objection, they can raise it at the meeting.
Yeah.
I think that's an easy one.
Yeah, that, you know that on page one of that policy, at the bottom, it talks about the board shall establish a schedule of fees for the use of school facilities by approved groups. Revisions to the fee schedule shall be approved each June by the board and thereafter published on the district's website.
And the one thing I like about this, I think I've read it at least 2 different places, but I want to make sure that you guys feel is that the superintendent reserves the right to not let any without reason. So if Robert deems he doesn't want it a man here, he can say no matter what it is.
Yeah.
Obviously, he'll consult with.
The superintendent or designee reserves the right.
So ultimately, he's the policy.
I'm struggling with that. Aren't we, a quasi-public forum?
Yeah, I think that that's a good point, but I also think that when there's gray area, we probably need to have a way, maybe it's a board decision.
Last time this came up, Bob Cox suggested that we leave that language in the policy
Yeah, I remember that.
for the explicit purpose of giving us the leeway that if we decide, the superintendent's not just going to do it willy-nilly, he's going to communicate this to the board.
Yeah, I mean, there's circumstances,
There are circumstances when it's
legal circumstances, people.
important to the board, for the superintendent to be able to say no.
Yeah.
We had that experience this past year with Confederate.
Yes. Matt, I'm seeing under item 11, under, for the first listing that goes to 11, page 3.
I tell you what, if we can remember that conversation now with Rob Cox's recommendation to leave that in there, I would suggest, or I think we need to.
Other questions, concerns?
Just fix, on page 3, there's a long.
Mike, does that mean you can't support it, or?
Yeah, we found it.
A must?
Missing the must.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Matt already fixed it, yeah.
All right, sorry.
I wanted to make sure that Rob Cox looks at this before I vote for it. If he's comfortable, we aren't in any way jeopardizing ourselves, I'm fine.
Okay.
All right. Can you recommend it for approval with that condition?
Sure.
All
Just make
right.
sure you look done, that's all.
So,
It's easy.
so what we'll do is Doug will make the modifications of the fee schedules, consolidate them, and then, we'll shoot it over to Rob with his blessing. And if everything goes okay, then we'll put it on the agenda. If not, we'll table it to October.
That's fine. Rob knows what's happened in the past. That's good. No problem.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Then we're moving 707 forward, use of school facilities with our recommendation. 709 is building security. Mr. Taylor.
Okay. BG. 709. Delegation of responsibility, modified to include myself and our safety and security coordinator, who is Bill Rick.
All right.
Under unlimited access, I modified it to my title, also Bill Rick's title and his team. And our property services manager, who is Tom Crow, and our emergency responders, who we assign each weekend to come into a building if there's some emergency. So at minimum, I think they should be listed for unlimited access.
Yeah.
That Knox box, is that a brand? Is that why that says Knox box?
It is branded, and that's,
That would make that a capital K, right?
yes.
I'm not saying.
Must be page 2.
Right there. Yep. Shit.
Yep.
Capital K right there.
I just noted, put fobs wherever we said keys, because there are times where we have fobs and not keys, so just use that language.
So this is for all buildings, right? Any district building?
Yes.
So there are non-employees that have fobs?
Yeah, all the police departments have access to our buildings.
Aside from law enforcement?
Us.
So do we need
You
to,
don't have, you don't have 24/7 access to our buildings.
not to the building, whereas I'm aware, only.
Yeah, this to me is
It
more,
only works on that door, but I believe it is, it's never not worked.
once you're
Inside the building.
once you're inside, but you can't get into every school 24/7. These unlimited access, they can get into our schools.
No, but I mean, from a policy perspective, this talks to who has what. Do you feel like, it's basically employees, law enforcement, do you feel like we need to say something about these, or?
I think if if we're saying limited access, we could perhaps include the board. Do you feel that's necessary?
I'm asking the question, I have no idea.
I don't either.
I don't want to be in a position where,
I mean,
we've got, and the other thing, this has come up before, whether the board should have badges or not. If we're literally non-employees or in that area, that's technically a secure area. I guess it's really not, because you can walk back this way.
When,
This building is not.
it is now.
Huh?
You can't just get around the building like you once did. It's changed.
Yeah. So if I come in here during the day, I can't walk back up and go up the stairwell. Is that done? Good.
you can go up the stairs, you just can't get in the door.
Oh, okay.
And you can go downstairs, but you can't get in.
Oh, okay. So given that we're not employees, and not necessarily everybody knows who we are.
So limited
we're gonna
access.
It's just a question.
Should we put number
Gary and
5?
Mark can talk
and
about
say-
one badges, so people, for me, it's just an application.
I know that in the past,
And I'm not looking to put badges in here, it's more.
we've had a philosophical debate.
Yeah.
You're actually on the board when you're all together.
Yeah,
When
correct.
you're not bored, you're just a regular parent. And
Correct.
that's how you get treated in the buildings. So, if you're looking to change that, then we want to change the policy. Right?
That might, and that's right, we're only, when we're sitting at the table, we have no power outside of question them, should we have the fobs?
I think you should have the fobs, given the nature of this building, work you do in this building, in fact, we have committee.
Well, I think you should have the fob, yeah.
That's absolutely right, but if you try to use that fob elsewhere in the district.
Okay. All right, I don't want somebody from the public saying, hey, how come,
So should we say number 5, board members for
Sure.
Chancellor Center? Or
That would be on-
Administration
yeah.
office?
That would be on
Limited access here?
page 2 under limited. Yes.
Under limited access, add number 5?
otherwise it's a perk. Not what we are.
It's one of the many, many perks that we have as school board directors, right? Granola bars, coffee, bottled water.
Leave it at that.
Hey,
Then it's defined, but we're not defining what you have limited access to, so that if the situation dictates it can be changed without violating the board.
Yeah, can you go back, did you pick up, I think you picked up Knox box, fire department was spelled wrong also. Yeah, go down to the right. Keep going.
fire department.
That should say fire.
Robbie K would not be
In case
happy.
of a dire situation, we need the fire department. All right, good, thank you. Building security, unless the gentleman online have objections or questions, we'll move that one forward. with our
All good here.
recommendation. All right. Use of facilities by staff, 710.
Okay. I just had a couple additions to this, which are in red.
Yeah. Looks pretty straightforward to me. Common sense limitation on personal use. Any questions, concerns, comments? If none, it'll go forward with our recommendation for approval.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
So, if I'm a teacher and I want to run a camp at one of the schools, I can't do it as a teacher at the school. I have to have a company that rents the facility, follows the facility use requirements just like anyone else, correct?
I'm looking at Doug.
I would probably have to run that by Pauline and see how she manages that.
Every time she asks me, I refer to this policy and say basically that.
It's no different than any of our coaches who are running camps, they need to be paying the bill.
Yeah, I mean, if I wanted to use a school for a baseball team on a weekend, I would have to go through Pauline and get an approval. I couldn't go.
So they don't allow anyone to use any of the computer equipment in the center at all, because that's what we do our maintenance on it. So, regardless, I just wanted to double check that, because someone had asked me the other day, and I said, I'm almost positive we can't. So I just wanted to double check with you. All right, thank you.
Yeah, and you're not suggesting an exception.
Oh, no, not.
All right, very good. Good question. All right, so we'll move 710 forward. This leads to integrated pest management, which I need to say on a personal note, if you don't mind. I'm quite familiar with this, and I think it's a wonderful concept.
I assume pest means anything.
Insects.
Tails,
Insects.
could be tails, could be wings.
Reptiles.
The concept being, by integrated, you minimize the use of toxic materials.
We do, right? And, or notify well in advance.
Does this, so one of the things that we've talked about, and this is funny. It's outside my hotel room when I checked in, speaking of reptiles.
Oh. Outside your room.
Outside my room, I was trying to get under the door. So I used to talk to buildings, I think you and I can talk about this, some of the like the weed control and that kind of stuff, so plant control, and we haven't been able to manage that as effectively. Although I haven't heard it be an issue lately, just because we can't put chemicals down. Does this have anything to do with that? Is that covered somewhere else that says, hey, listen, if we've got this, incredible poison ivy program, we can't mitigate it, that we will use what we need to do to get it done? Or I guess, this is all live this is all live stuff, is there something that covers, non-live pests, plant life?
We have I don't know if they have a policy on,
I didn't know that typically,
Yeah, we
like
have
you said, that we
some.
don't use this stuff because we don't want to put
I
it down.
know that
It's-
we are required, if we were going to use any fertilizers or anything, weed killers or anything of that sort, we would have to post notice 24 hours in advance to make people aware that we were going to do so. I'm trying to remember where that lives, to be honest with you, because I have seen it, and I do know that there are requirements. I would have to get back to you, though.
Probably doesn't look here, though, this is more,
I mean, this has similar requirements, but I think it's more pesticide driven than it is for weed control.
I just think when I think about pesticides, if you guys could just try to check on that?
Yeah, I will.
Because I think we should take the same approach to any type of chemical that we put around grounds to make.
That's good.
So-
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, IBM.
I am certain, and I'll confirm with you that our service agreement with these guys may include some of that. I know the language is somewhere, so let me find
Yeah, and
it.
the question would be for me is, assuming that it's there and you find it, is this an opportunity to consolidate policies as opposed to have an extra one?
I don't know that there is a policy for that, so
Okay.
let me see. You want to hold this until I find that?
Yeah, sure,
That's
we
okay.
can table this. And under guidelines, Matt, on page 2, point number 4, there's a letter missing. It says assess effectiveness.
Oh, yeah. Mr. E and Pest.
That's the one more down, number 4. It's not a pest, that an E, is it? No, I did marketing for pesticide companies, and this is an important concept because it's intended to reduce the use of toxic chemicals. But we'll table it. So, 716 is tabled. We're on to our final policy, 719, energy management.
So energy management. Probably hasn't been updated since maybe, what do you have in that, 2005?
I'm looking.
I think 2005.
Is this a requirement?
No.
Well, it's not a requirement, but it was adopted so that we could actually enforce temperatures throughout the district, because without the policy, it makes it very difficult to manage
Manage vendors?
building
and people who work there?
temperatures. And no, I think it's difficult for a principal
Oh,
to
all right.
enforce
Okay.
the temperatures in a
No,
building.
I've always been really impressed with how you do that, and that, you know.
Yeah, if you don't have any teeth there, it's
Okay.
very, you can say it's a recommendation, but they'll say, well,
Okay, cool. Good.
so this is basically just pulled into the new format.
Yeah.
Thank you for helping with that.
Yeah, it was 2005. Yeah, it provides a temperature range for classrooms, offices.
So that's swimming pool.
Yeah, that's really high, isn't it?
Remind me not to go swimming there.
I've also changed this prior to my arrival here. We were shutting air conditioning off in a lot of places for the summer. And I'm saying that we're going to remain in an occupied mode during the cooling season with the temperature at its highest setting per the policy of it.
Right.
So I was just, you know, as I was reading this, I was thinking about some of our buildings that don't have air conditioning. Are they technically in violation of this?
No, I mean, if you have the provision, then these are the ranges. If you don't, then obviously you can't. But we will be there soon. So that
I
everyone.
just want to make sure that we don't have a parent point to policy, because couple of those schools, you know, yeah, I've seen some of the correspondence. It's all fine stuff. So you remember that one?
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that this is the policy. They can't point to policy and say, hey, make a fix that you can't accommodate.
No, it's only what limits you have from your mechanical system.
Okay, as long as you use on your policy.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Protection.
So even those spaces that are cooled with an a window air conditioner, you can achieve these ranges.
Generally, yeah, if there is an issue where we can't supplement it, especially where there were students or staff that had challenges or notes.
Yeah, and I mean, you guys bend over backwards to the point of canceling classes or moving kids around. When you have to, I just want to make sure that this policy doesn't put you in a position where your hands get tied.
All right. Any other questions or concerns about energy management? Hearing none, we will move it forward to the full board with a recommendation for approval, and that concludes this evening's meeting. Public comment, no public present. Board comments?
Good work.
Hey, Ted, we're just about done, right? We've got one more,
One more meeting.
wave policies?
Yes, one more meeting, and we,
Well, pending how that goes. I mean,
Okay.
there's stuff that has to be tabled for another meeting, we'll have another one, but if everything flies through, then we'll meet.
Okay. Well, we'll have them until we don't need them anymore, but okay.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Thorward and Mr. Solomon.
Good night, all.
Thank you, Mr. Block.
Thank you.
Mr. Taylor, thank you,
Good night.
Mr. Senko, thank you, Mr. Frederickson.
Ed Salomon.
Has